Hello and welcome to part 3 of the AtTheRaces.com betting special. My name is Kevin Blake and I'm delighted to be joined once again by At The Races' Hugh Taylor. In the first 2 parts of this series, we discussed many different aspects of race reading and betting. In this third and final part, we are going to hone in on our experiences as racehorse owners and breeders and how they've impacted how we view racing. So Hugh, you've had a great amount of success as a racehorse owner. It has to be said. Raising sand immediately springs to mind. Was getting involved in ownership something you always aspired to do?
I don't think it was really. It was just something that I don't know. No, it wasn't really an ambition. The way I started, I'd noticed that Midland Park had done quite well with a lot of their syndicate horses, and I was really into me racing at Southwell at that point. Well, I still am, but we're talking, 10, 15 years ago. And I was quite keen to get involved with an American bred if we could find the right one. And I mentioned that to Mike Prince, who was one of the co-owners of Midland Park. And he referred me to Nick Bradley, who was their bloodstock agent at the time. And we had a look at the sales and we found this ideal horse, we thought, for the job in hand. The horse called Yas Marina, who was, you couldn't have got a better dirt bred horse, really. It was by Bernardini. Absolutely everything about him was suggested that he wasn't going to be much good on grass, but he might be all right on dirt. And it turned out he actually did have an aptitude for dirt, but it also turned out they had absolutely no interest in winning or racing at all. We managed to get him in a couple of really low-grade races at Southwell where he absolutely cantered through the race and then just declined to go and win in the closing stages. So we had a few. That was an inauspicious start to my owning career, but it was a cheap purchase and it was worth a try. It just didn't work out.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that rather than some of the more, I suppose, common appeals of ownership, for you, it was the attraction was being able to perhaps back your opinion and be able to get involved in a horse from an ownership perspective that would allow you to help explore some unexplored areas with the horse and use your judgment to try and get the very best out of horses.
Yeah, judgment is the word I was going to. You want to try and it's like betting. To me, it's never been about money. The money winning doesn't really. I'm not massively motivated by money, I don't think, but it's about being proved right, isn't it? And it's the same with ownership, and that's probably even harder to be proved right than betting because, as you know, it's a fiercely competitive arena, and you're up against people who are much wealthier and much better resources than you do. But it's when it comes off, it is a great feeling, and obviously it doesn't come off very often. You have a lot more failures than successes, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you mean. It's nice to be, when you get an opportunity, sometimes yourself, you're looking at a horse and you can form a pretty strong opinion that the connections aren't necessarily going the right way with the horse. They're not doing what you think they should be doing. And then they appear at the October horse and training sales and it all gets a little bit exciting, thinking that you might be able to get a hold of this horse and test your theory. And it doesn't get much deeper in terms of an experience for me than that, is actually being able to get a hold of the horse or buy the horse for a friend or a client or what have you, and be able to put your theories to the test. Because like you say, ultimately we do that every day with our betting, and our involvement is our betting stake, and our reward is our winnings if we're right. But if you go and buy the horse, put it in training, and put those theories into practice, the rewards are even greater. And like you say, not just financial.
Yeah, I suppose in a way it's a more real participation. You're more of a stakeholder in the actual sport of horse racing, aren't you? You feel to an extent that you're kind of contributing to the sport. The sport's given me so much, and it's given me a living for 20 years now, and it's certainly not giving something back to the sport as I'm doing it for my own pleasure. I'm not doing it out of any philanthropic reasons, but you feel like you're a bit more of a stakeholder in the sport if you have done it. Well, that's the way I feel anyway. And so it's similar to betting in that you're trying to find an angle, and you're trying to find a way of being right and proving yourself right, and that's where the enjoyment comes from it.
And I know quite a few of the horses you've been involved in, you are syndicates, and obviously with a syndicate, it's just more than yourself involved. And I know you would have very much have your own opinions clearly about which way the horses should be going. In that, is it? Do you try to impose? Isn't quite the word, but would you always be very keen to try and get your theories tested, or do you have to take a back seat?
Well, all the horses I've been involved with, the person I've dealt with is Nick Bradley. Nick's a good friend of mine. He's had his own syndicate now for a few years now. And we work together, but a lot of the things I'm happy to leave to him because we think along very similar lines. So I wouldn't be, apart from anything else, I don't necessarily own huge shares in lots of the horses, so I wouldn't necessarily expect to have a massive say in anything particularly. But Nick always, whenever they're running, Nick always gets in touch with me, or I get in touch with him. We talk about where we're going to run, jockeys maybe to a point, but quite often the stable jockey will be riding it, and that's fine, you know. And certainly riding plans, we would nearly always discuss that up to a point. Yeah, I enjoy that degree of involvement, but I'm not necessarily wanting to have a massive say in it because, like I say, I don't own huge chunks of them, but also Nick and I think along very, very similar lines in a lot of these respects. So I'm happy we have a chat, and then he has a chat with the trainer usually.
Yeah, and in terms of the payoff, you're not a financial thing, but the satisfaction and the joy of being involved in a winner compared to backing a winner, would you have them on totally different scales, or is the gap a little bit narrow?
It's difficult to say because I've had various different types of wins. From betting wins, I'd certainly always feel much more excited. I think nearly every tipster will tell you this. You feel more excited about tipping a big price winner than you do about backing a big price winner. If you're serious about your job, I think you do. In terms of owning a winner, yeah, it's pretty special, and but it's special as well because there are other people involved, and you're pleased for them. Like for instance, Raising Sand was a horse who there were initially only about 3 or 4, 5 of us involved in him, and Nick decided to let some of his shares go a couple of years ago, and a few people came in who follow me on Twitter, and I put a sort of advert and said, I think this is quite a good buy, and they'd come in for that reason. So that's quite a lot of, yourself buying horses for other people. I wasn't buying it for them, but I recommended it to them, and it's quite a lot of pressure in that respect. So that was really pleasing. Also, they all turned out to be really good guys as well, which is good. But that's, when Raising Sand won the International, that was a massive, it was good in so many ways, but it's particularly good when, you've kind of put your neck on the block saying this is a good horse to come in with, and it turned out that way for people. So, yeah, it is a really good feeling when you get one right, because it's as with anything. For every one you get right, there's going to be loads and loads. We've had loads of horses we bought that have done okay, or sometimes not done okay, but it's the odd ones that do really well that make it all worthwhile.
And Raising Sand is a great story because you'll tell it better than me, but I know from having seen him a few times, he's horrendous in front. His front legs are horrendous, and he probably shouldn't be doing what he's doing, but he's been the most wonderful horse for you and the guys.
Yeah, he's a horse. I pestered Nick about this horse quite a lot when he was in the sales. I asked him about him 3 or 4 times, and I actually thought Nick was lukewarm about him. And I was on holiday. I never go to the sales because I'd be absolutely no use at all. I'm not a horseman in any sense, and my work is done before. That's where I can be maybe of some use. So I was away on holiday with my family, and I was sitting in front of a swimming pool with my phone watching the sales, and Nick sent me a text saying this horse has got I can't remember what he said, but it was along the lines of what you said. His legs are all over the place at the front. And I replied saying, oh, that's a shame, never mind. And he replied back saying, no, on the contrary, this is good news. It means we'll be able to buy him. Because we discussed the price for him, and we were talking, I think we'd said we'd go to 40 maybe even 50. We liked him quite a lot once we settled on him.
Sorry to interrupt you, Hugh, but what was it that made you so keen on him?
I thought they'd given up a bit early on him. He'd won. I thought there were a few angles to explore with him, soft ground being one of them, but he'd raced mainly over 6 furlongs, and then his final run had been over 7 furlongs at Doncaster, and he'd been drawn on the wing, and he'd seen a lot of daylight, and I thought it was a race you could excuse, and that was his first start at 7, and he definitely wasn't bred to be a 6 furlong horse. He was bred more to be a miler, really, although you could argue now that his best form is at 7, but he's effective certainly at either. There were a few other things that I thought you could try and hear there that I just thought, and he was a decent, you could tell from the TV footage that he was a decent looking type of a horse. He had plenty of scope about him, and I just was surprised that they were giving up on him so soon, because I think he'd won his previous start prior to the Doncaster one, so he'd only had 4 runs. So there was a lot of different things that I liked about him.
Yeah, it just worked out so well. He's obviously come forward, but he's become, for a number of years now, I suppose what everyone wants really. He's a real Saturday horse. He's brought you to so many of those big races, so many big occasions. I remember meeting you after the Hunt Cup last year, and it was one of those, because I remember speaking to you about it at the time. It was one of those where it's Royal Ascot, it's the Hunt Cup. You're delighted to have finished 3rd, but it was one of those where everything looked right for him. You're almost, it's a terrible thing to say, but you're almost a small bit disappointed that he didn't go closer, but you didn't have to wait very long to get a massive compensation back at Ascot in the International.
We really thought you can't say we thought he'd win. It's the Hunt Cup, it's 30 runs, but we thought he had a cracking chance that day, and there was a little part of me that was disappointed, but he's, Jamie Osborne and his team, you have to give credit to them. They've done a great job with him. They've kept, he's had about 5 or 6 runs where he's run shockers in his career when he wasn't right. There was a period of 3 runs where early in the season a few years ago where there was definitely something not right with him. They never found out what it was. But apart from, he's probably had 5 or 6 runs where he's run poorly, and he's run so well the rest of the time. And as you say, he loves Ascot. Now, we didn't know that when we bought it. We didn't know we were buying an Ascot specialist. So there's always luck involved in things like this, and a lot of things drop right for him. And for every time you do that, there's going to be a number of times where it doesn't. But he's definitely been one of the success stories for sure.
And in terms of where you think your ownership will go, Hugh, I know primarily you've been involved in horses that tried horses that you've had a chance to see on the racetrack and form an opinion on. Would getting involved in yearlings or other untried stock, would that be of any appeal to you, or not quite so much with the tried horses?
Funnily enough, I've got involved with a 2-year-old this year that we bought last year as a yearling, a kind of a pedigree thing. It was there was Nick often asks me just before he goes to the yearling sales, is there anything I should know about this? And I never have time to look through them. There's all these, it's not my area of expertise at all. But there was one that I noticed that was in the sales who had just recently put his half-brother into my tracker because he'd run a really eye-catching race on his debut, and he'd actually got some big race entries. I know the horse isn't that good, but I'm sure, but he has won a race quite easily since. So there was that sort of hidden upgrade, if you like, and he was also his other half brother had won some obscure races in somewhere like Slovenia or somewhere like that. I can't remember. It was an obscure East European country, but I figured, I looked through the form, and I figured it'd probably run to, it's probably a high 90s stroke 100 type horse. So that's 2 potentially decent half siblings. So we bought this horse, and he's in training with Richard Fye. So see how that goes. But generally speaking, I'm more interested in the horses in training because I can apply my, you can look at the form and try and find angles that way. And that's what I'm doing all year, looking at form. I'm not really looking at,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert by any means on the kind of things that you need to be an expert in when you're buying yearlings.
Yeah, I'd be the same, to be honest. You know, I would have bought a lot of horses in training, tried horses for people. They don't tend to end up on my own colours, but it's like you say, there's a lot of satisfaction in picking one and testing a theory and it getting proven right, or they go and win a few. It's for someone else. We've had some great days that way. I suppose people wouldn't know about them really. The likes of let me think, Linger, Best Not Argue, Focus of Attention, Camille. You know, they've all been winning, you know, middling levels. But I think there's a great amount of satisfaction to go and win 2 or 3 handicaps with one.
Definitely.
Especially in Ireland, where they tend to go up 10 or 12 pounds every time they win.
But if you found an angle on something, it's, that in itself is, and Nick's really good at that. He's, I'll give you an example. There was a horse that we bought from the Cheltenham sale in around, it was something like April one year. And I would never have even looked at this sale. And Nick asked me to look at it, and he said, it's a jump sale, but I want you to look to see if there's anything we can buy to run in the Ascot Stakes. Because he bought a horse called Junior a few years before.
That worked out all right, yeah.
And so he was, he was hoping lightning would strike twice. And we both hit on the same horse. It was a horse called Commissioned, which he'd run 3 times on the flat for Mark Johnston. And he'd then gone jumping with John Ferguson and just didn't like it. He'd won a couple of nice races, but it wasn't the biggest horse, and I just don't think he liked it, and he'd gone off it. And he'd never really been tried. He'd won his last 3-year-old start on the flat over a mile 4 or a mile 6, and he'd won it going away. And we just thought it was worth a crack. And we bought him to run in the Ascot Stakes. And we were all planning to run him in the Ascot Stakes, but then the ground was wrong. The ground was going to be too quick for him, and there was rain forecast, so we held off, and we went for the Queen Alexandra, and he won. I'll never forget. I'll always regret it. I didn't go because I was doing column throughout the races, and I thought, I can't really, it's the last race of the day, and I'll have a busy week, and I'll watch it on TV. So I wasn't as confident as Nick was. Nick was really confident, and so Royal Ascot winner, and I wasn't there. So that was a bit bittersweet. But it's an example of Nick's very, very cute and sharp and that sort of thing in terms of he will find angles that perhaps other people won't think of. And he's got knowledge in areas that I don't have, so that's quite handy in that respect. Yeah,
well, I suppose that's logical. I suppose with the tried horses, you have more evidence at hand. If you're looking at yearlings, you only have so much information. You have their pedigree, you have the physical horse in front of you, but there's so much unknown. You get plenty of people who will pretend they know more than they do, but there's just so much randomness involved, I think, in what makes it. I've been breeding horses for near enough 20 years now, and that's the ultimate crapshoot, because you can you spend an awful lot of time running various statistical analyses of stallions, of race horses, of mares, and you put a great amount of work into it. And you could be like, a lot of it for me is anticipating, because I'm a commercial breeder, I'm breeding to sell. A lot of it is anticipating what stallions will be in vogue at the time I'm selling what I end up producing. And oftentimes you can be 100% right. You can absolutely nail it. Your stallion selection is bang on. They seem in every way suitable to the mare. You combine them, mare goes in foal, magic, and the mare throws a crooked filly. You're not going to get in any sort of semblance of financial reward, even though you've done everything right, really, but the little bit that you can't control has gone totally against you. So you need an awful lot of things to come together to get a result. But this year was quite notable. I had a first winner in my own colours, because, like I say, most of the horses I've ended up buying over the years have ended up for other people or syndicates or what have you. I'm a homebred filly, out of the one really good mare I have. First filly she had, I decided to hold on to her. Funny Little Ways, she's called, and she won at Dundalk there at the end of February. And yeah, that was pretty sweet now, because she.
So I've got to ask you the question now then that you asked of me, because you asked me about the degrees of enjoyment you get from backing a winner compared to owning a winner. Is there a next stage up there when you've actually bred the winner? That's got to be even more special, surely.
Yeah, different level, and the missus managed to come up. She had business down the country in the day, and she got a train and a bus and another train, and she really bust her arse to get there on the night. And I'd been there from early, and it's brilliant, because you're minding them since the day they popped out of their mammy, really, and you're dreaming about them, and they're frustrating you, and things are going wrong and things are going right. And you know, a year previous, you know, we thought she was quite a smart filly. She was working, she was very forward, she was working very nicely, as well as any 2-year-old, and Joseph's in that kind of first quarter of the season. And we were getting quite excited, and she just let us down, and she disappointed twice. And then she went lame, and we thought that might be game over, but she came back here, and we gave her an awful lot of TLC, an awful lot of Dr. Green, and she came back right, and sent her back down again, and again started working well. But you're saying to yourself, well, she was working well before and she didn't deliver. So you have to give them their chance, and she got a pretty lowly mark, you know, and ran a nice race, the first handicap at Dundalk, and then I made my fault. I made a mistake. Her first run in a handicap was over 7. And the view all along, and if you looked at her pedigree, you could draw no other conclusion that she was to be a sprinter. You know, no other conclusion. There's no doubt she should be a sprinter. And we sent her over to Kempton for what looked a weak enough race, back over 6, and thought, right, if you're going to do it, you really need to do it here. Missed the kick a little bit. They went hard. She should have finished off well. The winner came from a little bit further back from her, but she didn't. She just steadily stayed on and finished 5th or 6th. And I went and I did a striding analysis of her afterwards, which I hadn't done up to that point, because I you know it all. I've bred all the family. I know them all like the back of my hand. And funny enough, her stride frequency is much more that of a miler than a 6 furlong horse. So I thought, well, I can't write you off based on that. We'll go 7 again. And her main problem had been she was missing the kick, and it wasn't helping her. And she had a bad draw that night at Dundalk, and I know Joseph and the lads had really been drilling her at home at the stalls. And he sent me a video a couple of days before the race of her jumping out of the gates, and she was like a bullet from a gun. I said, right, if you do that on Friday, we might have a chance. And sure enough, she didn't quite ping him, but she was out much better, got prominent, and she bolted up, to be fair to her. And she's going well since now. I think they all seem to think that she physically looks like she's got stronger, and she seems to be improving. So a bit of an enforced break at the minute, but we'll give her the rest of the season now, and we'll see where she ends up. But I've babbled on a bit now, because I do get a bit when I'm talking about her, because the amount of pleasure and satisfaction in it now is pretty substantial.
That's what I was going to jump in there and say to anybody who's watching this. We've both talked far longer about horses we've owned, but there's a serious point I'm trying to make here. We've both talked far longer about horses we've owned than any of the horses we've backed or anything like that. And there's a reason for that. It does mean so much to you when you are involved with a horse like that, and the rewards you get, and it's an immensely frustrating pastime at times, but the rewards when it goes right. And you ask anybody who's, you know, from the smallest syndicate owner, I mean, a lot of the guys in Raising Sand are 2.5% owners. They just own small bits, but you know, they're as much owners as everybody else who owns a bit of him. And just the feeling and the rewards you get from it. And you know, I wouldn't talk for ages and ages about a horse I'd backed or anything like that, but I could talk forever about the horses I've owned, because it's, you know, you do get that sense of fulfillment, and that, you know, is something else. It's definitely something else.
Yeah, because ultimately, and you'll know as well as anyone, ultimately it's largely an exercise in self-flagellation, because there's so many more bad days than good days, disappointing to various extents. you know, that when it's so disappointing because look, it's an expensive game to be involved in. It's a slow burning game, you know, usually many weeks between runs, and the low days can be low enough. So if you're lucky enough to get a good day, God, like wet night in Dundalk, you could ask anyone that was talking to me that I was floating around like a fairy night and for many days afterwards, because it's just it's very sweet.
It's a bit like supporting a sports team, though, isn't it? In that I often kind of feel sorry for people who support I don't know if you support a football team or anything, but the people who support the Arsenals and Manchester Uniteds and the really big teams like that, I often wonder whether they really get that sense of joy that you do if you support a lower team, a lesser team who doesn't win so often, particularly if it's your local team. Those odd moments where, against all the odds, something amazing happens and a trophy or they win a big game, and there's nothing to match it in terms of, you know, I support a fairly modest rugby league team, as some people will know, and they're in the second tier of rugby league and have been for over 25 years, for about 25 years now. But when it does come right, and when they do have some success, it's the feelings like nothing else. And it's the same, you know, it's the same in any walk of life. You can't have the good days without the bad days, and it's the bad days that make the good days really sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. It's like I've been involved in a horse that's 5-1 on. You know, there's not. It's almost a relief when they win, you know, rather than being a real, genuine pleasure, because the patient levels attached to it. But like the breeding side of things, I suppose, is even deeper again, because it's such a long-term thing. Like her mother came around here 10 years ago. You know, it's a long-term thing. She was born 3 years ago, and you know, her mother is literally about 15 yards away from where I'm sitting now in her stable. So, you know, you're up every morning looking after him. And the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. So when you do, while you try not to, you do get attached to him. And especially, you know, a filly like her from the day she was born, I was kind of thinking, right, with a bit of luck, you might be around here for 20 years, you know. And she's doing her part so far now. She's a winner. So hopefully, and even if she doesn't, she'll be getting covered next spring. And like I say, all being well, she'll be around for 20 years with a bit of luck.
Happy days.
Yeah. Oh, actually, look, on that note, I've got all sentimental now. So have you. So we've this hard-nosed analysis of our betting and race reading has all gone a bit wishy-washy at the end, but I think it's good to offer a bit of balance and show that this game, for all that we, I suppose, do our best to make it about numbers and percentages and what have you, there is flesh and blood and emotion underpinning the whole thing. So with that, I have to thank you. The end of part 3, you've put in a long stint tonight, and I thank you so much. It's been fantastic, insightful, entertaining, as we come to expect from you. And with that, I'd like to thank you again. Say thank you for tuning in. If you missed part 1 or part 2, you can catch up on attheraces.com or all the other places this is appearing, YouTube and Facebook, and a couple of other places too. So thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all again.